Greetings, Laoshi Lawrence McElroy here for Water Tiger School Taijiquan. Here again in the Tai Chi shuffle of our shuffle between Tai Chi and Qigong. We've been shooting for every 3 weeks as far as a target for when we launch a new video. We'll see about the next Qigong video. We did check the calendar before we set up to shoot, and not really sure if there's going to be a conflict or not. So the next video may be early, maybe on time, maybe late. We shall see. So our Tai Chi focus is going to start with really relatively intense lower body stretch. We'll show you some ways to power it down a little bit, to modify. It still may not be for you. So when we get to that point, you might want to skip ahead and do your own warm-up while we're doing ours. And get into the meat of the Tai Chi portion of the video a little bit later on in the video. So t-shirt, you might recognize the pithy little quote. It's this guy. We use that phrase quite a bit. As a matter of fact, one of our words we seek not to use on the mat, in the room, and remotely is try. We also do our best to steer clear of problem. We like challenges. We like exploring things, etc. But anyway, this is only the second time I've worn this t-shirt. The first time was relatively early in the scheme of things. It was a Facebook Live session for a Water Tiger for Sachem back in April 27th of 2020. So we were just a month into doing things on Facebook Live and posting videos on YouTube. And that particular focus that day was in a series of Laoshi's favorite warm-ups, and it was something that we got from Bakwa, teacups exercise. So anyway, there's the t-shirt trivia. I'm just keeping track. I have a lot of t-shirts. You have probably noticed if you've been following this channel for a while. So anyway, I'll talk about what the focus is. It's a walking exercise. It's a single posture, little transitional moment that you'll probably recognize is play the pei pa walking. Since I said the name, different people pronounce it differently. I've heard even differences from people who speak Chinese. So some say pi pa, some say pei pa. There are even other differences I have heard. Basically, a pei pa is a stringed instrument. And if you've seen the pei pa played, it's actually played in a similar position as the end of posture for the posture, play the pei pa. It's also called, play the guitar, play the lute. And it has an interesting history in not the pei pa, but the walking exercise. We'll talk about that when we get to that portion of the video. I'm going to crunch my mint here. Get my iPhone out. So I like doing things in 20-second intervals when I'm doing a little aerobic thing. So you can even power down this little light aerobic warm-up. I'm going to start with marching for 20 seconds. You want to bring your knees to your hands. Don't dribble your knees. This is not the exercise. And if you have a smaller range of motion, just get your hands closer to the tops of your thighs. You don't have to do that. We're a little beyond our 20 seconds. Now I'm going to do the same thing, march, but knees wide. It looks kind of funky, but it changes the muscles that are activated. We just want to get a little blood and oxygen going through the body before we stretch so we don't tweak anything. Now I'm going to continue. I can march with some vigor. I can jog. I can run. Knees up just a bit. You don't have to do the high knee thing. I'm going to do knees wide run for 20 seconds. Almost there. And one more thing. I'm going to do little half jacks, by the way. You can do that. Or do a regular kind of half jack. You don't have to do the big ones. 3, 2, 1. So, the stretch we're going to do is called a hip, calf, foot stretch. A little bit of ankles involved as far as the foot part of it. And it's supposed to be done in something known as a frog squat. So that's toes and knees are out, and I'm sitting down in this position. Now this may be too low for some of you. So you can be up here. You can cut the distance a little bit. But the basic stretch, this is the demo part, don't participate yet, is bringing that knee down, pushing that heel back, I'm getting a toe stretch here, and switching back and forth between the sides. Up here, it would look like this. Now you can see my back heel is up off the ground. I'm pressing the heel back and down, the knees in slightly. I'm going back and forth there, or a little bit deeper. Being very careful that my knee is in the proper position so I don't twist the knee at all. I think it feels like 2 more pair after this one. Should be good. Might be good. Will be good. Do 1 more pair after this. I feel that in my hip too. Last on the first side. Last on the second side. Coming back into my prayer squat. Just going to do this little shift from side to side. And stand up. And shake that up. So I like that one. It's different. I don't do it a lot, but sometimes. So this is not the first video that we've done that involves Pei Pa. There were 2 also still in the Facebook Live series. So they are in the Facebook Live playlist. They're also listed below in the information. The first was Water Tiger for Sachem, July 20th, 2020. And that was diversity in Tai Chi, playing the Pei Pa. So we went through Water Tiger's way of doing it and other people's approaches, because we have a particular method. It's a little bit different than some. A lot of people finish whatever their brush knee is and then sit back into Pei Pa. We move forward. We'll do that in a bit. And then the second was in our combined posture walks series, and it was brush knee into Pei Pa. So it was brush knee, Pei Pa walking. And that was the next week for a Water Tiger for Sachem Facebook Live, July 27th of 2020. So again, both of those are hyperlinked in the information below the picture. So again, our way is a little bit different. So in the form, when we come from brush knee, we're in our version of brush knee. We do a little rock back, a little turn out. I'm not turning out to the 45. A little purposeful detour over to the left that then goes up and to the right. And notice my left hand is behind my back. And then, oops, that little turnaround screwed up my structure. I allowed that little turnaround to screw up my structure. Boom. And that little move in the middle from this moment, shaking hands with Andre the Giant or the mountain, Egyptian hieroglyphic moment, and then into our Pei Pa, as opposed to sitting back or stepping through and moving forward. I don't do that one hardly ever. That's why it was just really ugly. But anyway, this is another one of the walking exercises that have kind of been born out of the combined posture walks. It's the fourth one, I think. The first was a single whip walk. That was Water Tiger, again, for Sachem, Facebook Live, toward the end of the Facebook Live era, October 5th of 2020. Then there are two in the Taichi and Qigong training, and we're not going to link to those below, by the way, these below. Apparent opening sequence walking. And then January 4th of 2022, we have a transitional movement we call groin strike. It's not a posture. And there's groin strike walking. Those three and this fourth one all came out because people were like, they played the combined posture walks, like, well, I really like that brush knee Pei Pa exercise, but I think I want to figure out how to do Pei Pa by itself. And they would figure out how to do Pei Pa by itself. And then I'd fix it. So that's the story for all of them, for single whip, for apparent opening sequence walking, for groin strike walking, and now for Pei Pa walking. And this one just happened recently. A little shout out to Mike. And that's the history. So we are going to do the Egyptian hieroglyphic moment. So here's some details, right? The Egyptian hieroglyphic moment, I am not doing the delicate lady hand, right? I am sort of creating a little bit more of moving into the realm of not a spear hand, but it's a little bit flatter. And it's as if I'm pressing toward the center line. Now, ideally, if you have the range of motion, the hand at the bottom, fingertips down, right down to the bottom, right straight down to the earth, not angled, right, but down. Hand at the top, fingertips right straight up to the heavens. The hand below, pushing toward, at, or ideally through the center line. So in this case, my left hand is pushing to my right hip. And my right hand, again, it can be toward the center line, it can be at the center line, or past the center line, pressing toward the left shoulder. So the upper hand presses toward the opposite shoulder, the lower hand presses toward the opposite hip. And that's that transitional moment. The end of posture is a false stance or a single leg stance. The grounded foot, it's not toes forward, it's not toes out to the side wall, it's sort of halfway in between. You're splitting the difference. It's a 45. You've already noticed, if you've been following us, there ain't no blue lines on the floor. There's nothing about this that needs to be shoulder wide. The step in between will be a comfortable step for you. You don't probably want to step too close. You don't want to step too far. So just right, just like porridge. Sorry, I'm really thirsty this afternoon. I guess you could be watching this at midnight, but for me, it's early afternoon. So the end of posture for Water Tiger School, again, different than others. This is prayer hands, right? So if you know yoga, you know prayer hands. Just lightly pressed together. Some people do, this could be their salute. I think it's called monk hands bow salute, but that might be something else too. But anyway, my prayer hands are at a 45-degree angle. So not up, not parallel to the floor, not down, but kind of a 45-degree angle from my torso. And the hand that's farther away, my middle fingers are aligned. The hand that's farther away is going to slide up on that line at the center line. So they're still, ideally, both pressing into the center line, and all the fingers are pointing the same direction. In this case, because the left foot is out, the left hand is farther away. The right hand is closer to. Chest sunk, back rounded, crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl, ball of the foot. And the last little detail, again, rounded lips, is at that end of posture from the Egyptian hieroglyphic moment. So you have 3 heels. Heel of the left palm, heel of the right palm, heel of the extended foot. All drop at the same time. And that extended foot, again, not too far, not too close. Knee is open. It's not a straight leg. And even though the heel is on the ground, there's really no weight on it. Don't tell anyone. But if you need to weight the front foot a little bit so you don't fall over, it's okay. And that's the details of getting into the posture of Pei Pa. Sort of. Didn't really detail how to get from the Egyptian hieroglyphic moment and that sort of switch that goes on. I like getting into things in a Tai Chi-like fashion. What does that mean? That means that I'm not going to go, okay, he said foot out at 45, so there it is. See, I'm aligned. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty aligned. I'm going to rest the ball of that foot there. Now let's see, the Egyptian hieroglyphic moment thing. What's that? That's okay. The right hand's pressing this direction, left hand's pressing this direction. Okay, I'm ready. No, that ain't it. I'm going to bounce the weight into my left foot. I'm going to turn that right foot out to the 45-ish. I'm going to come into my Egyptian hieroglyphic moment. I'm going to go into my Pei Pa. Hopefully you did that a little bit more gracefully than I just did. Now notice how when I turn, and when you turn probably, you can sort of feel how that just, your body sort of wants to open up. So you let it. And then you roll into that left foot, into the Egyptian hieroglyphic moment, and turn forward into your Pei Pa. And then open up, fold in, open up, and fold in, open up, and fold in, open up, and fold in. Oops. I was thinking is doing too many things at once there. Boom. That was a casual close. I like closing things. And what is a casual close? You may not know. It's closing. That's less formal than, like, you know, at the end of the form, when double weighted feet and hands have certain things that they absolutely positively have to do. Casual close is just making sure the upper body and the lower body are coordinated with one another. Part of me moves, all of me moves, and you get some sort of closing movement in. So a casual close, for instance, and I want to balance the sides. So our first Pei Pa was with the left leg extended, so our last was with the right leg. Being that right leg, Pei Pa, and I could bring the forward foot in if I wanted to. I usually roll into the forward foot and notice the hands leave what they're doing. They start floating on that ball. Back foot comes in as the hands come in. Back heel down, I'm lengthening the body and then shortening the body to bring the hands to the acupuncture point for the Xia Dantian. You know, this version, notice I had to make that adjustment on that foot. And then this time I'm pressing down and rising up to get into and get the hands to the Xia Dantian acupuncture point. It just lets the body, mind, and chi know that, hey, I'm done with this pass. I'm going to do something else. I can go have a shake for lunch, or, you know, going to turn around and go the other way, which we will do. I'll do a pass away from the camera here in a few. I'm going to bounce the weight into that left foot, turn out that right foot, come in, come in, and notice how the left hand and the left leg are very much like a puppet and a puppeteer. Pei pa, open up. The right hand and the right leg, pretty much like puppeteer. The left hand and the left leg, boom. The right hand and the right leg, boom. The left hand and the left leg, boom. And one last time, boom. Again, I'm going to adjust that left foot so the feet are parallel. Pressing down and rising up. And there's another pass. So going away from the camera, you get to look at Yoda. You're so lucky. I just have to look at Danielson and Tony Horton. So anyway, again, I know you can't see my feet right now. I'm going to broaden my stance a little bit. Bounce the weight into my left foot, turn my right foot out to around the 45. I usually say 45-ish. And then I've been known to make a joke. It's like, what did we do before we discovered the word ish? Opening up, folding in, opening up, folding in, opening up. Egyptian hieroglyphic moment. Play the pei pa. Opening. Egyptian hieroglyphic moment. Play the pei pa. Opening up. Egyptian hieroglyphic moment. Play the pei pa. And go forward this time. I'm going to lengthen. I'm going to shorten. There you go. And, you know, if you know Water Tiger School, you also know I have no explanation. I just like doing that when I end something. Not sure if I picked that up from Mesmer Sifu at Black Dragon School or somewhere else. So just for difference, right? How about a sideways version? I'm going to take a couple of breaths here. I'm going to bounce the weight into the left, turn that right foot out to around the 45. Egyptian hieroglyphic moment. Pei pa, opening up. 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 And I work in one more pair, last to the first side, last to the second side, and just enough space to roll forward, up, and down. And there you go. Pei pa walking. You're welcome. As always, I hope you enjoyed. It's kind of short, not even going to be 30 minutes long. But there's not a lot to it, not a lot to show, not a lot to talk about. And even though that first stretch was kind of intense, the hip calf foot stretch, it too didn't have very many components. So appreciate your time and attention. Hope you found this interesting, different. We at Water Tiger School really embrace the concept of, you know, mixing things up. The different ways that you approach what it is that you do will give you more information on what it is you do, and maybe lead you to new understandings of what you thought you already knew. So, and this is a topic that we address a lot on our YouTube channel. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. As always, we like to say that we preview comments, but for some reason the algorithms, we don't always get to do that. But don't, constructive criticism, always appreciated. But don't flame us, please. And we actually have, we don't, we want to screen comments simply because in the early days, we got a lot of, shall we say, advertising links in comments because the algorithms weren't catching them. The YouTube algorithms weren't catching them. And we also share a link to this video on our Facebook page. So that's another way of interacting with us as well. It too is Water Tiger Tai Chi. And as I said earlier, not sure when we'll get to the Qigong video. That series right now, we sort of have a focus. Speaking of, the way people do things differently, we're doing that with Qigong now and demonstrating different approaches to the various pieces of brocades, the standing 8 pieces brocade. Not sure which piece we're going to do. So far, we've done Draw the Bow. And in our lineage, it's the 7th one is called Screw the Fist with Fiery Eyes. So I think we may be leaning toward, for us, it's the 3rd piece, Splits Between Heaven and Earth. For others, that's the 2nd piece, and probably with a different name. So anyway, again, thanks. Appreciate your time and attention. Take care and be safe.